1,728 deaths. More losses than any other of the 95 other challenges I've done. That's a real hard blow to morale and numerous blows to Jin's body. All in the pursuit of beating Ghost of Tsushima's normal guide challenge as requested. Broken armor only, all cursed charms on, hard plus difficulty instead of lethal so the enemies have more health, but the frail curse makes it so I die in one hit still without the ability to pick myself back up. The incredibly weak level 1 sword, no bow, no ghost weapons, a minimum use of stealth aka no assassinations, no resolve usage, and all with only moon stance, my least favorite and least used of the stances. I'll also make it so I can't have any other charms other than the curse charms. Admittedly, the curses that double resolve power usage and make it so I can't pick up ammo or resources from enemies don't matter, since I can't use resolve at all, and I can't upgrade anything that matters, but that one-hit death curse will cause enough suffering on its own. Everything else is on the table, but that makes for a very light meal. Hopefully all this training will make me very ready for Yotei. Oh, and also I shall be 100%ing the game minus the collectibles, because that's busy work and not actually adding to the challenge element. Every single marker on the map shall be checked off one by one, including all of Iki Island this time around. Obviously, if any rule is accidentally broken, I reset to the last checkpoint, or in the case of this one ship fight, I get promptly killed, which works too, though it is a tad more painful. You understand the rules now, I hope, so let's dive right into the ups and downs of being a normal guy trying to save his island from invasion. When the lords of the island prioritize their own twisted sense of honor above the lives of the people, a common man must rise up and do uncommon things to right those wrongs. But these fights won't favor our hero. When the odds are against you, it's wisest to slice away as much of the enemy's strength before the battle can even begin. Ergo, why standoffs prove to be my favorite tactic to wipe out 3 of the closest enemies right off the bat nearly every battle. Even still, it becomes clear how insurmountable the odds seem to be when the lowliest of the invaders require 8 slashes to fall, and even the most delicate of archers take 6 hits to fall, while I only need to fail 1 dodge or parry, and I'm worm food. I mean, it does make sense how weak I am given I'm doing everything while bleeding profusely, and with arrows still stuck in me. But I just do not have the time to seek medical aid. My island needs me. Still, who has it worse? Me for dying instantly to practically any damage? Or the Mongols who are stuck getting cut up slowly and repeatedly with my very dull blade? And even then, poor guys still often aren't dead and require one last stab on the ground to end their suffering. The lucky ones are always the initial fighters in the standoffs as they die instantly. I guess my blade understands the value of aura farming, or maybe more likely, the Mongols are just throwing the fight and pretending to die, so they can avoid the drawn-out deaths of their buddies. Even the pups take 6 hits to stop as if it wasn't painful enough to fight dogs. I used to rely on rolling and dodging to avoid arrows, but as you can see by the arrows sticking out of my body, that's not always reliable. Much more reliable, I've come to find recently, is blocking, knocking all of the arrows out of the air before they can even land. Something that might feel beyond special for a normal guy to do, but is it? Basically everyone I know can do that, and everyone you know can do it too. Trust me, I asked them already, so maybe you just can't do it, and that's okay. We all have our talents, and yours is not getting shot at by arrows, so you don't have to test it. Please, don't test it. It also helps that archers shout out before they fire, or their allies duck down, making it clear when to block or dodge, but it's common enough that neither of these things will happen, and the archer will unfairly fire from out of view, killing me instantly. This is common enough that much later on I'd even try to fight with visual aids turned on to see these shots coming, but it turns out when they don't give verbal warnings, that applies to those visual aids as well. So, that sucks. But hey, nothing staying paranoid and holding block at all times can't fix. It's terrible for the nerves though, but just another consequence of war. Unless you're a fire archer, then I hate you. Because 90% of the time I'll knock your arrows out of the air, and randomly, 10% of you won't care and kill me regardless of blocking, with no clear difference between the ones I can block and the ones I can't. So even if it takes 7 hits to down them, Those fire archers are always first on my list to die. I gotta admit, when this challenge began, I felt pretty confident. Sure, I'm terribly outnumbered and outgunned, but my buttload of experience actually made the fighting pretty simple for all of Act 1. The fights were always drawn out, and I'm always surrounded, but only attacking with 2 strikes at a time, then immediately dodging or parrying the next incoming attack, I'd be able to pull through any battle. As long as I kill those damn archers first. I also need to make sure I don't get shoved up against a wall, always maneuvering to have an escape route so I can keep every enemy in my line of sight and properly spaced. It was pretty fun, and things went well for a while. I think you can guess by my death count, it doesn't stay that way. The real trouble began when I went to help Ryuzo. When I blocked the attacks of the blue swordsman, I'm surprised to die anyway. Huh. Odd. But then it happened again, and I realized chip damage was occurring if I tried to block the blue swordsman. Has that always been a thing and I never realized? Herring will keep me alive long enough to help him clean up the rest, but my mind was racing. Did I fail my no damage checkpoint challenge before and never even realize it by blocking these guys? I had to know, and so I saved, exited to one of my lethal runs, and sought out more of these enemy types. To my relief and joy, blocking didn't cause damage and I was perfectly fine. I don't know if it's a difference between lethal and hard, or maybe just part of hard plus, but chip damage doesn't exist in my other challenges it seems. Still, it's a problem here, and these guys are going to be one of my biggest threats as I work to always parry them. It's not too hard with how delayed their strikes are once you get used to it, but it definitely can raise the risk significantly. Which I find rather funny that blocking a blade can still kill me, but touching fire, slamming into the ground from high up, and floor strikes that spray me with water or ground damage don't actually kill me. Environmental damage being the only example of damage that won't instantly kill me. Which is great later for fighting Ryuzo or the Khan. It's just nice to know the environment isn't as cruel to me as its inhabitants are. In the question of stealth, what do you think counts? Crouching is my main sign of it. That's definitely stealth and frankly killer on the knees. But is merely walking behind someone without their knowledge really me being sneaky? Or just them being unobservant? When you just stand around chillin', it's not like you're hiding, so it's on others if they don't notice you. I have constantly surprised my mom just by walking into the room. That's not me being sneaky. If I'm sprinting across the rooftops and jumping over people's heads and they still don't notice me, I figure that's more them than me. And if they're really in my way and won't let me walk or climb past, shove them into a wall with my kicks and keep stabbing away so they're too stunned to warn their friends, even if it takes a bit to kill them. My first duel is to learn Heavenly Strike, not for the move of course because I can't use it, but I am here to 100% everything, and more importantly, show every other duelist how terrible they are if they can't beat me with this many restrictions. Koga the Murderer, mainly thanks to my practice of my no blocking, no dodging challenge, can't land a single hit, while I slowly and steadily knock his health away, going above and beyond, bringing him to absolute minimum health before being forced into the tutorial Heavenly Strike. Then I'm off to help Yuna, but as I discuss how amazing of a fighter she is, she decides it's better to discuss it than to prove it, forcing me to fight off the Mongols by my lonesome while she chats away. Not cool, Yuna. It's here that I first must learn to protect the hostages and fight off all the Mongols at the same time. Something that's actually quite fun to do, except for one big fact. The Mongols lack object permanence, and that makes it incredibly easy to accidentally assassinate them mid-combat, forcing multiple resets. Between that and getting overwhelmed in combat, my escape from this turmoil is a tragic one. We simply get jumped by less Mongols at one time, not on purpose, just by chance, and that makes it much easier to win. Tragic simply because I wanted to win against great odds, but I guess the poor civilians in danger probably prefer any ending that doesn't end with them dead, which is probably valid. Especially as when I'm put into a situation where I can have as much time as I need to battle all the Mongols I can barely handle, I don't do so well, and the captives I came to rescue have to wait 2 hours for me. I could easily rescue them at any point, and with their help it would be a cinch to slay the Mongols. But you know, where's the fun in that? Here's where the blue swordsman really proved to be irksome when surrounded by enemies, as I struggle to keep track of them to make sure I parry instead of blocking. Combine that with my general worry over spearmen, as they are the #1 believers in dishonorable combat, attacking regardless of whether I'm in the middle of killing their friends, meaning I need to be very cautious so I can get out of the way before I get killed by their speedy attacks. I never stay close to them in general to minimize my reliance on my reaction time for the best survival chances. It makes it even harder to deal with them when one of them happens to be a commander, as these guys really can tank through so many hits. The beauty of great armor, it seems. Gosh, I miss that benefit. But on the bright side of combat, Moonstance may be terrible at dealing with every other foe in the game, but it is fantastic at killing brutes, and it has one very particular special use. Upon parrying an enemy and getting behind them, the kicks from Moonstance's strong attacks, followed by slices, followed by more kicks, and so on, allow me to keep an enemy turned away from me, helpless as I cut them down. That really makes a massive difference and is one of my best tactics throughout this bloody and long campaign. That, and running away quite a bit. Getting surrounded makes it too easy to roll into the next blade, so I better keep on the move, wearing down my pursuers until I can sheath my own blade safely. I break open the cages, freeing the Straw Hats, and then promptly watch most of them get killed in the large final battle of the fort. Fun takes a painful form right after the castle rescue, as now I'm put in a particularly difficult situation. Rescuing this abused woman from her captor Mongols in the tight confines of the ship, while the dozen soldiers try to kill both her and me. Normally this fight is a footnote, as it's so easy to beat with stealth, or archery, or even just a good blade, but no such power here for regular old Jin. The cramped spaces do not suit me, and I keep trying to drag the enemies out to the wider part of the ship, but I can only stay there for a moment before racing back inside to stop them from killing the woman. It's a half-hour experience, and honestly, one I enjoy, as it hits that sweet spot of being difficult for sure, but not overwhelming enough that I need to care about luck. Just take it real slow, especially to make sure I don't have my blade stuck in the enemy, an animation that plays out at different speeds and can really cost me. But as always, slow and steady, making sure to keep every enemy in my line of sight and running back and forth to minimize bunching up, I can save the woman and go on to save many villages from the invasion without issue. Once I've cleared out all of Act 1's area, it's time to head into Act 2. But I'd only be there for a little, mainly suffering at the hands of Ronin in some large Mongol camps, before the sickening song of Iki calls to me. Sickening because the song is played by the shaman, who boosts the power of all their allies, making nearly every attack unblockable, every enemy way more durable, and great at avoiding my attacks, and all around, the world's greatest nuisances. But on the bright side, while the shaman don't like to attack and leave themselves vulnerable, if I keep attacking them, I can lure them into attacking me, and they are thankfully the least durable enemies in the game, only requiring 5 hits to die, making it possible then to focus on their friends. This is only the start of the true suffering this war has to offer, as I head to Iki with around 300 losses taken, but I will not be returning to the main island until I have fallen 800 more times. If only it stayed as easy as playing music for cats, but right away I came across this Mongol-controlled market, and here is, without a doubt, the hardest Mongol camp there is. Getting in isn't trouble, despite the arrow artillery fired my way, but that also prevents me from doing any standoffs. The next key goal is to kill the shaman in the middle of the camp so I can kill everyone else, and while he's not the biggest fan of letting me, he normally isn't too much issue. Then I can battle half the camp at a time, as the two sides won't venture into the other side's area for some reason, maybe cooties, allowing me to easily wipe out one half. It helps that while it takes a while to learn, because I'm so cautious about parrying them, it turns out the swordsmen here can be blocked without damage, making it so only sword commanders and blue swordsmen do chip damage, which is great, though I still stick to always parrying. But none of that matters when he enters into the fray. This Darth Maul wannabe brute is the absolute worst enemy in the game by a hefty margin. There's only a single one in this camp, and the moment he gets involved, his speed and range of his attacks means I am dead. Dead, dead, dead. Doom, despair, damnation. I just got to Iki and already I'm failing over 100 times trying to take this place. Brutes are supposed to be vulnerable to Moonstance, but this big fella just shrugs off my attacks and kills me anyway, completely breaking the normal mechanics. Unless I get rather lucky, and even if I land all 3 hits, he still won't stagger. If I survive long enough and stagger him, I still can't kill him fast enough. My only joy is he won't follow me for long into the other side of the camp, but I'm really struggling with him. I desperately need more practice, and it isn't working to do it here since I have to wipe out half the camp before I can fight him solo, so I head off and find another camp to do it. But first, I have to retrieve my horse who got separated from me, and that is unfortunate, because when I do, he forces me to use some resolve to charge into a pack of Mongols. Thankfully, only 1 charge is required, while I can fight the rest off on foot. Thankful for the rules, not for my health. And once that's done, I can go find the Mongol camp that will give me more practice against these brutes from hell. It actually goes pretty smoothly as the timing isn't too bad it seems. But once I go back to the market to show off my practice, it goes awful again. Turns out, I just got lucky a couple times with that last guy, and I hadn't quite mastered this enemy yet. Even when I do get lucky again and win, of course, the other big new enemy, the Weapon Master, who can equip any weapon, is the last man standing, moving faster than I can react when he goes for his blade dash, resetting the whole camp. It is until I reached 480 deaths total that I managed to win. Not because of skill. No, it's proving too difficult to punish the brutes in close combat, but in realizing that the artillery of arrows counts as environmental damage, for whatever reason, which means I can survive it. But the brute will still get stunned and heavily damaged, allowing me to kill him much safer with only minor injuries to myself. And the Weapon Master is actually pretty simple, just incredibly annoyingly durable, so he's not too much to worry about, finally letting me be free of this market. Freedom tastes so sweet and so fleeting, because new chains imprison me as I discover the hardest section in the game. I haven't spent a lot of time playing Iki Island in a while, so I didn't account for when I go to gain the legendary horse armor, I'd be put in a very undesirable position of fighting against waves of very powerful enemies, including 1 Weapon Master, 1 Shaman, numerous swordsmen, archers, and worst of all, 3 of those monstrous sword brutes. Grand! This would be nothing if I did as my horse wanted and just charged into them all. But no can do. I doubt you're surprised to learn that I'm stuck in this beach torment for 4 hours and gained exactly 200 deaths for a total of 700 deaths. No matter how well I do against the other enemies, it takes eons to kill even 1 sword brute or that Weapon Master, usually followed immediately by my death, resetting it all. What deities have I enraged to find myself in this predicament? Well, I wanted to practice with the brutes, and I certainly am getting it. I have fully accepted sword spin being too dangerous, and it's many deaths before I decide the slow and steady nature of kicking the brutes is my best bet. But rarely do I try to slice after kicking, or I will likely be hit. I also realize that dodging to the side and behind the brutes is far safer than moving backwards and still in their range, plus I can punish them more now. Of course, the shaman is my top priority the moment he appears, followed by the archers and whittling away everyone else bit by bit. One of my greatest gains is discovering that if I lead the enemies to the other side of the beach, only the one I'm actively pestering will continue to follow me, allowing me to turn each fight into 1v1s. I will say, I would really like to learn faster next time with less pain if possible, but I do feel confident fighting the sword brutes now. Nothing like being thrown into the absolute worst of it, with no escape, to force me to adapt or die. Or I guess in this case, die 200 times and then adapt. The legendary pirate Blackhand Riku can't handle the skill of a regular guy, but his extraordinarily powerful armor has its revenge by refusing to come off until it's shown off what it can do against waves of pirates. Curse this war for such a high cost of being more powerful for a moment. Thankfully, only 2 pirates need die before I can tear the armor off, but that's still too much extraordinariness for little old ordinary me's liking. A bit of forced extraordinariness, though, would suit me perfectly in what proves to be the most costly battle of the war. I wouldn't say it's as hard as the beach, but it does cost me 210 deaths, even more than the beach. This would be the duel against the Mongol leader here on Iki, the Eagle. I hate fighting the Khan, cause frankly, I think his duel is boring, repetitive, and artificially difficult with how much space he takes up with unblockable swings that he can instantly repeat. The Eagle, though, now there's a leader I can struggle with for all the right reasons. I not only like her more for story reasons, but she also fights differently like the Khan, but it feels like a battle focused on pushing my skill to the max, as her incredibly fast moves can't be countered just by dodging first, then parrying her like I'm used to with every other duel. You'd think after so many losses to her, I'd feel more bitter, but I actually like her boss fight, even if it hurts so much. She's just so very fast. So fast that I'm convinced for a while that I lack the speed to keep up with her. But what looks like a reflexes issue is really poor observation, as the more I come to understand her moves, the more I learn to rein myself in. The number one killer, actually, is dodging when I shouldn't, as she feints her attack, following it up with a quick stab that I'm not ready to avoid. These feints are her true power, and if I just observe more carefully and not just react, I can do better and better, as she doesn't attack as fast as I think she does. But I really seem to love, absolutely adore, dying by this one move, so that's gonna take a while to fix. Really, wow. It hurts seeing how much I can fall for that one move. I'm just happy that the entire duel doesn't reset to the start if I can break free of her poison. Her other greatest strength is taking advantage of my kicks to her back. You see, in most duels, things take too long to happen, as we ready ourselves for the next move, looking all cool, and I like to speed it up with kicks that most enemies will dodge or parry, immediately following it up with attacks that I'm ready for. Or just every hit makes a difference if I can land the kicks, so I'm happy for that. It's honestly the only reason most other duels ever even land a hit on me, because it's not the smartest tactic, it's just me rushing through the fight. The Eagle is one of those few you should never try this tactic on, because there's a chance when you try and kick her in the back, she will dodge, but remain facing the wrong way. This is almost always death, as the thrust strike that always follows is so fast, it's as though she teleports into me, because that's basically what she does. There's not much counterplay to that, so I might as well lie down and accept my fate the moment I make that mistake. All this time, my buddy Tenzo is battling a single swordsman, and I gotta ask, can we please switch? Take turns or something? It takes 3 hours of mainly me falling for the Eagle's feints before I finally clip her wings and soar free of this nightmare. 1,095 total deaths now, and I might as well throw in 10 more as I struggle to jump across this one gap, instead finding my new home in the void. At long last, setting foot back home, I feel confident that the worst is behind me. And, well, it mostly is. But that doesn't mean it's going to be sunshine and joy from here on out. As you know, 600 plus deaths still await me. But these will mostly be deaths of bit by bit. A couple here fighting Mongols in their camps. A few there fighting the sword duels across the land. A bunch taking on all the easy but numerous pirates on this hillside. A few defending Yarikawa, and so on, until a new problem rose its ugly head up because the universe decided things were going too smoothly for me. Controller stick drift that got worse and worse very quickly. This made it very difficult to use my map, track tails, keep my proper spacing in fights, and, well, look like I had an ounce of sanity left to me. I intended to push through it, but as it grew worse, making it incredibly difficult to climb shrines, and would push me into fire attacks I'm trying to dodge, I decided to take a few days break while I waited for a new controller, beat a Hollow Knight challenge instead, and then return ready to win the day. Of course, new controller or broken controller, all it takes is one little oopsie to fall, and in the case of trying to bring down this fort, that can really suck as the entire fort regains its entire force if I die, even if I kill 9/10 of the place. Often due to one archer out of reach too. Ow. Plus, standoffs are getting harder and harder, as sometimes it feels like I have all the time in the world to respond, and others, whoops, I'm dead. But I'll still always take the risk, as it's better than the slow killing, even if it's far riskier. though not every enemy is willing to take the risk like I am.
You will give me too.
It's a genius tactic to never come closer and keep me stunned like this forever. It's not all doom and gloom, and actually I feel far more skilled as I go, but the price of growth is heavy with my blood. The duels take forever to win, but they're not hard at all, with only silly mistakes costing me my life and so much more time. Perhaps if I focused more on winning and less on asking myself who wore the hat better, I wouldn't take as long, but where's the fun in that? I'm forced into assassinating some straw hats to maintain stealth when I help Masako, which is a shame, but I won't weep too hard over such a loss. When helping Yuna get revenge against slavers, I'm again forced into the question of what counts as stealth. I never crouch when hunting these men, often walking or running to where I need to go, and I always make sure the men see me first, kicking then cutting each of them down quickly to avoid assassinations, getting spotted and reset plenty, but never actually hiding anywhere, except at most standing behind a tree. Which I was just standing here. Does that really constitute stealth simply because he doesn't notice me? I'm pushing the definition, but I'll take my win and skedaddle, as I easily could have done this normally and avoided any hassle at all. But with everything else done here in Act 2, it's time to retake the castle, which is surprisingly more difficult than I expect despite having so many friends to help me, as it turns out these Mongols really can't keep track of me mid-combat with so much going on, and I keep accidentally assassinating them, forcing resets. I need to wear a bell or something at this point, even if it damages my legend. Act 3 has always been my least favorite act, I gotta admit it, but just because it is the most padded of things to do. Everything is bigger and takes longer, but there's so little variety, both in fighting and also in the view, which obviously when you're just a regular guy who is no more powerful now than at the start, that can really wear on you. I die plenty, but that's because the numbers and the health of the enemies really do not favor me extra so by now. But that can be evened out just by slowly taking my foes from their camps, spreading them out, and taking them down bit by bit. I just gotta be sure that when I'm so good about avoiding my enemies and not getting trapped in a corner, that I don't throw myself off a cliff as I try to make space. That's too much space. Cleaning up the rest of the island takes a while to do, but it's really just a lot of long drawn-out fights and nothing too special. Lots and lots of practice, basically. I help each of my friends finish their tales with none providing any trouble, help the rest of the strangers in need, and then it's time for the Khan. Race past all his men, take 300 years chopping away at his health that gets reset whenever he magnetizes too close, avoid his men when I get poisoned by the Khan so I can puke it all out without dying or healing, and then step back into hell against his ship full of men. This final big battle can be the easiest thing ever with ghost weapons, a bow, or just an adequate blade. But without any of those, over 5 hours, I'm condemned to this suffering. Yes, I die plenty, but it really takes so long because there's just so many to beat. It's one of those things where yes, I can easily best the commander, spear unit, swordsman, and shield unit along with the Khan. Yes, I can definitely avoid, separate, and take down the fire lances and all the other enemies while staying away from the Khan till he's alone, all without too much trouble. Yes, the Khan without his spear is way easier to beat. But the fact that I have to do all these things without messing up as a single hit will fully reset this battle, and the Khan takes 34 hits just to reach the second phase, and plenty more to break his spear, then way more to beat him fully, is so much harder in practice. I get very reckless too, as the fighting just takes too long for my liking, and I seek as many perfect parries as I can to try and scare off the enemies so I don't have to grind through their armor. More than that, if I ensure the bombers throw their bombs near the center explosive barrel when many of the enemies are underneath in that area, it will cause poison to fall on them all, making it so any hit by the poison are a one-hit kill. Minus the Khan, though I do wish. That, and realizing I can safely block the fire arrows here, gives me what I need to overcome the Khan and his flunkies at exactly 1,700 losses. But I'm not quite finished. as I clean up the few things left on the map and go up against my uncle in one last duel. Despite being forced into the Ronin outfit that massively increases my damage, Uncle still barely takes a scratch from my hits, which is truly worrisome, and his speed does cost me a good deal more losses than most duels. Where the Eagle was so different and played to my weakness, and the Khan is just annoying, my Uncle's just really fast. So good job, Uncle, for staying so spry in your older age. It's inspirational, really. Still, he has all the same moves as any other swordsman duel, so it's only a matter of patience before he too goes down. One spared Uncle later, I realized the hot spring I'd been missing is the tutorial hot spring of all things. I had to get a much-deserved relaxation there, and I happily check it off as the last needed activity in my quest to save the island as a regular guy. Huzzah! After 80 hours, 41 minutes, 1,728 deaths, and about 14 forced non-regular guy moments, I've 100% Ghost of Tsushima as a regular guy in every chance I could. I did not expect that to go as badly as it did, honestly. But hey, hopefully I'm ready for Yotei now. I thank you for the suggestion, and for all of you watching and supporting. Special thanks to my patrons, you all really rock. Well, I have Yotei downloaded and waiting, so I'm gonna have fun dying there now. Remember, even if you're regular, you can do extraordinary things if you put your mind and will to it. I'll see you later, friends.